Okay, welcome back to the second last day of our January 31 day challenge. If you want to check out how I painted this sloth painting, the link for that is going to be in the cards. So we are painting the 19th painting today. Technically recording this in the morning on the 31st because I didn't record any intro, outro videos yesterday, but that doesn't matter. Anyway, so we are going to be painting a marsupial, the Quokka. So if you don't know what a Quokka is, kind of think of a koala bear rabbit, sort of. I am just obsessed with this reference image. I think it's so cute. These have such a cute face. The adults are already adorable, and the fact that they're marsupials and carry the young in the pouch, and that there was a reference image that I could get copyright to where its face was peeking out of the pouch. Like, just how magical is this? This is so fun. I wanted to try something different with this painting, and I incorporated a lot of the tones of the animal in the background. So I wasn't really going for a contrast look with the background, and I kind of wanted to match it with the brown tones. I think overall it kind of makes a really cool painting for like a very neutral nursery type room. Let me know if you think it worked for this painting or if I should have done a brighter background or not. I don't know. But yeah, I thought it was really fun. So you can see I'm kind of just sketching in the painting with a filbert brush. And you can see I've kind of already got a lot of the line look with the filbert brush kind of dragging across it on a side angle. Now I'm going in with a round brush, and we're just going to get some of the more finer details in the face kind of checked out. So there's a lot of highlights through the eyes and stuff, just to try and get a bit more of the three-dimensional look and try and correct for some of the brush strokes and the length of them from the block in, just so I can kind of look at the reference image, look back at the painting, and have a quick guide for how long the brush strokes are going to be. So I'm kind of going around the face of the baby and really putting in a couple of those fur lengths. Now we're moving on to the head of the adult, and you can see I'm using one of my old paintbrushes that has been retired for fur. So it's kind of splayed at the bristles. This means that the paintbrush can create a lot of different line fur strokes at once, which saves you a lot of time, especially when you're underpainting and it doesn't need to be very exact. So I'm going in and I'm just adding anywhere on the body that has more of a darker shadow color. I'm adding all of that in. Now I'm going in with kind of a lighter brown color and really trying to just bring in some of those extra details, highlights around the ear, around the cheek, especially the area around its nose, just to try and bring out and bring some warmth to the areas that I want to be really three-dimensional. And painting the nose is always so cute, and the little whiskers, just kind of blocking in where those dots are gonna be. And playing around with the shape of the eye, trying to, just with the white there, trying to block in some very basic shapes there. And then we're going right into the fur on the face. So now we're kind of getting a bit more detailed and intentional with the direction and length of the fur that we're doing. And you can see it really complements the undertones that I did before, where everything's kind of already moving in one direction. And this is such a quick way to layer fur and make it really, really easy to paint pretty detailed animals. And I'll slow it down here, but I'm also using a liner brush very quickly around its face, just because faces are such a detailed area. So I wanted to show a quick clip of that. I don't use a liner brush often for this, but around the face is the one place that you'd want to spend time with a liner brush if you were going to use one. Now we're going back in the whole body, trying to do it really quickly and efficiently, and crack out this painting on the second last day of the challenge. So we're going in with highlight colors. I'm also directly painting in a few different shades of brown instead of doing the transparent washes like I normally do. This is just because there's so much fur on this animal, and there's a lot of different spaces to cover and a lot of different wrinkles. So I thought it'd look a lot more organic if the washes were just kind of already in that direction. So especially for this bottom layer, we just went for it. Just trying to get a lot of paint, a lot of fur on the canvas. And I kind of jump around between the body of the animal and also the face of the baby. And I basically am mixing one color of brown and then placing that one shade of brown in a few different areas that I think it would go well on the body. And then I'm mixing a new color of brown and then doing that same thing. So just like in the previous video with the sloth, we're trying to get a lot of variation in the tone of brown throughout the painting as we build up all the layers from the beginning, so that you don't really end up with one color that you're just repeating over and over again. You're really kind of going in from the very beginning and trying to build up those fur layers as you go. So now this is the part where I am using a liner brush because I really want the kind of wiriness of the fur to come through, and that really helps that texture of this particular species of fur when you do individual strokes. And this angle is a little bit blurry, I apologize. It's always hard trying to get the more close-up views on the canvas and make sure it's in focus, but I wanted to include it anyway, just because it's useful. But you can see how I'm just using an off-white and adding in a couple of those details of fur. And these individual strands really help add to the overall density of the animal. And all of this has gotten pretty light, so we're gonna knock it back with a color wash in a moment. But in the meantime, you can kind of see how we're just adding those really wiry pieces of hair. We're kind of having them curve in different directions. They're crisscrossing, overlapping, and this kind of really makes that wiry texture of animal fur become prevalent. So things are really kind of going in different directions. We have a lot of different interesting fur directions going around the wrinkle of the pouch as well. Wanted to make sure we capture that. Now we're going back in and kind of reclaiming some of the space that we overtook when we were doing our fur with the hands. They're kind of an on top layer. So it was nice to go back and fill those in. And then we were able to add the fur on top of the paws. And the body of the mum is pretty much complete at this point. You can really see all of the different fur layers and textures, and I think we have a really good kind of separation in the strands of the fur. So at some point you always just gotta call it and leave it. And I think it was a good point to kind of move away from it at this point. And I took a nice dinner break, and then I came back and am painting the baby's face. I kind of saved this to the end because I love painting animal faces. I love making them very detailed, and I really wanted the baby in the pouch to really pop out so that it had such a clear contrast from the surrounding fur of the mom's belly. So we're going in really slowly here with the liner brush and taking our time with a lot of detail. We've got the eyes in, nice big doe eyes that have a really good glint on them. And we're also using a slightly warmer undertone for the baby's fur. This will also help kind of create some separation from the mom's fur in the background, so we can really get a sharper contrast between these two layers, and it'll really stand out a lot more. Also for the baby, we decided to make it a bit pinker in the nose, which is fun. And at the end of the day, it's just layering and layering and layering different layers of fur lines. So starting with the dark color, lightening it up slightly more, making sure you have enough contrast in your fur layers at each stage. And in real time now with the liner brush, you can kind of see how we're just really subtly creating those tiny little lines. And with that, I think we're gonna call this one. And here we are. Okay, so this is our 19th painting in the month of January, completed. Very exciting. I am so stoked to be able to take a bit of a break now that we're in the home stretches of this challenge. So I hope you enjoyed watching this time lapse, and stay tuned for the last video in this series that's actually going to be in January. I think I very likely will pick up the challenge and do the last 11 animals to kind of round it out to 31 later on throughout this year when I can carve out time. But for now, we're gonna start the last painting next, so stay tuned for that. If you wanna watch the whole series, all other almost 20 videos are gonna be in this playlist here, so check it out, and we'll see you soon.